Have your day brightened up? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Hashtag Positivity Podcast.
Okay, ready?
Yep. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the podcast. How you guys been this week?
Life is good, man. How about you?
Can't complain. Can't complain. Don?
Wonderful.
Oh, he switched it up on us.
Different setup. I got to lean in. Wonderful.
What'd you do over the long MLK weekend?
I didn't do a whole lot. Some working on the projects on the side, and that's about it. How about yourself?
Well, that's plenty because you got a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
That was good, man. I literally went to the West Coast, was in San Diego for half sort of business and half pleasure. Ran into a bunch of friends, celebrated an engagement party. But I flew in Friday night, flew back Sunday night. So I was in California for 48 hours, but it was worth every second of it. It was a great trip.
Quick turnaround, huh?
Very, very.
That can be pretty draining. I know you said you're a little bit...
Yeah. Well, I did my first red-eye flight, which I've never done before. Every time I've flown to California in the past, they were day flights. And so I flew very late at night California time to get back to the East Coast. And I can't sleep on a plane. I just had some difficulty sleeping on the plane. So, yeah, I've been going without sleep for the last couple of days, but it's all good. Well worth it.
Nice.
Excited for today and keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good episode. We have
No doubt.
one of your longtime friends in the studio today, Mike
Yeah.
Pafumi, who works for the Department of Corrections in Connecticut. And we'll let him tell us a little bit more about what he does. It's going to be a different angle on the whole positivity approach today.
Yeah, for sure.
See some stuff that people don't get to see very often. So,
For sure.
Mike, welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Very, very excited to have you. Mike is, like Jason said, and then we'll turn it over to Mike. Mike and I have been friends for a long time. He's been a guy that's been super instrumental in my life, my family's life, and I just have a great deal of respect for how you live your life. And so as we were talking about guests that we wanted to have on the podcast and some different folks that we thought would bring a different sort of perspective to what we're trying to accomplish, you were somebody that immediately came to mind. So we're psyched to have you.
Happy to be here.
If you could tell us just a little bit about, just to kind of get started, sort of take us a little bit from the beginning, but what you do now with Connecticut DOC and how long you've been there and what the future might look like for you in the DOC as well.
I just hit 19 years.
Wow.
In a couple weeks, I'll actually hit it. And right now I'm in charge of the transportation unit for, when we have to transport the inmates all over the state for court, hospital trips, all that kind of stuff. Prior to that, I've worked in the different jails, maximum security prison, kind of spread it out. I think I did 10 years at one prison. Then I went to a jail. Then I went back to a prison and back to a jail. Try to keep moving, make the time kind of go by fast, and just gain a little bit experience in all different aspects.
And promotions do that though as well,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So what you're the rank of captain now,
I'm a
right?
captain now, yep.
And you're CERT commander.
I'm the commander of the first platoon of CERT. We have two platoons. We have the north and the south.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm the commander of the first platoon, the north.
So for the person out there that has no idea what that means, CERT commander,
Yep.
in a language that our listeners would understand, talk to us a little bit about what that means for you.
Basically, it's an emergency response team that would respond to any prison emergency. And my platoon, I think we have 80 members, and I'm basically in charge. If there's a big activation, I'm gonna have to I have to supervise it, run it. I have people below me that have kind of tasks
Sure.
that they're meant to carry out. Your brothers, Steve's also a member of the team,
Yeah.
kind of my right hand.
Yeah.
And if we have a mission, we have to come up with a plan on how to accomplish that mission.
Now, how have you been in CERT in other prisons that you were at, or is this the first place that you've done that?
This is it's a statewide
Okay.
team. It's a statewide team. Kind of, if you could think of like I think some police departments have like a CREST team. It'd be different agencies. We have our members are in different facilities throughout the state.
Gotcha.
And during an activation, we would respond.
All right.
What's the training like for CERT, and how long? I mean, you're the commander of CERT now, the North First Platoon, as you said, the Northern District of the state, but you don't come out of DOC Training Academy as a line officer and all of a sudden run a CERT unit. So talk to us about your progression through CERT and why you've stayed so passionate about, sort of the special operations community. We talked to Dan Warren a few weeks ago, and if you look at the military or paramilitary organizations, law enforcement, corrections, there are always units within units. And clearly you've been drawn to that more specialized group. Tell me how that started for you, and why do you think you've stayed with it for so long?
I think it started because you want to be with some like-minded people,
Sure.
the same mindset. And this is 18 years ago when I first tried out. And I know we kind of gave you some exposure to
Yes.
that. I think last March and April.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it was pretty awesome. I had a chance to go to, and Mike will talk much more about it, but I had a chance to go and observe for part of the day.
That's interesting.
The
That's
Cert
a
Academy,
cool experience.
and for a guy like me who has, very little to no experience in that arena.
Or pretty much anything.
Yeah, yeah, zero in really any activity. In fact, the job I've had now for almost 20 years, I don't even know what I'm doing there either. But it was amazing to see. It was literally a well-oiled machine, but it was chaos at the same time. And I got a chance to see, I think it was a spray, right? And then a spray and fight sort of sequence, which was pretty cool. But so just, kind of getting back to me seeing that and my exposure to that, 18 years ago, you decided CERT is where I want to go because I want to be around like-minded folks. Yep. But now you run CERT in the Northern District. Mm-hmm. Walk us through that, man.
You start off like we talked about before we started doing the show is we have to try out and you kind of go through it. And if you get through that, then you're a member. You do your time and you move up. I became a weapons operator for our less than lethal munitions.
Yeah.
Moved up to a squad leader, and you just kind of keep moving. You have to kind of be in the right spot and just be motivated. You can have the people that I always say, the people, hey, how you doing? I'm good.
Yeah.
Or you have the people, hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm good. I'm going to do this today. And you have to stay motivated. I think in my line of work, generally in a prison, there's a lot of negativity. So I think if you can, like your shirt say over there, if you could be positive, and positivity is going to spread.
How do you do that in an environment where I would imagine, having never been there, but I would imagine
Prison, never.
Right.
No. Sure.
But even,
Very sure.
Well, and I hope not to get there. But especially when you first start your career, you go into a facility, whether it's a maximum security prison, a county jail, wherever. Essentially, you are locked in with the population for at least 8 hours, if not 16.
Correct.
So I would imagine the environment can be really negative. What have been some tricks, probably isn't the right word, but what about your attitude has allowed you to not only work in an environment like that, but thrive in an environment like that?
For me, I always say I joke around a lot.
Yeah.
I'll
Yes,
send you
I know
texts.
you do.
I'll send
What?
you texts throughout the day just to try to get you mad.
And it works?
Yeah. I try to laugh every day, even in a very negative environment, and you see some things that, normal people don't want to see.
Sure.
You're with your friends, and you have to make each other laugh a little bit. It works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Some people could say, how can you laugh at a time like this? Try to laugh, have fun. Sometimes after work, you're gonna hang out and try to make each other laugh. And again, I'm kind of a little bit of a jokester.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I like to.
I can't believe how much you're keeping it together right
Yeah.
now. I hope to sway that balance here pretty quickly, but right now you're doing great.
Yeah. And I just, again, you try to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Sure.
Again, there are a lot of negative people in any profession. But you have a core group of friends. If it's a real bad day, you call your friend and you talk.
Yeah.
And I think I would say my group of friends, we usually just pick on each other when it's
Yes.
when it's a bad day, and we try to build each other back up and have a good day the next day.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to work with that mindset, you joke around. Obviously, it doesn't work with everybody, but do you see that makes an impact on certain people who are in the jail? Are there people that see you come to work and maybe their attitude changes? Does that rub off on anyone else?
I think more so earlier in my career when I was an officer, you're kind of on the line with everybody. So when you're not actually doing your job and you're in some downtime, you can find some time to have some fun, joke around a little bit. As you move up in kind of a supervisory rank, you kind of have to pick your battles, and sometimes you can't joke around because as a supervisor you're addressing issue and handling issues. I still try to keep things kind of light when possible. When I address where I am now, it can be a negative environment, but you kind of have to find a positive in something. there's always something you can make light of, or just try to get people to not be so negative.
Absolutely.
So Johnny Martin is going to the State of Connecticut Department of Corrections initial training to become a corrections officer. I get out, maybe I'm not in CERT, but maybe you put yourself in the role of a supervisor in a facility.
Mm-hmm.
What's the advice you're going to give to me as a new line cop who has no clue what I'm about to embark on, to try to develop the same mindset or have the same leadership opportunities that you've had?
Just be yourself. You can't fake it.
Right.
You know,
they see right through you.
Yeah,
right?
see right through you. And we deal with an offender population or an inmate population, and if you fake it, everybody's gonna know it. And that's with your coworkers too. If you come in and you try to be this, regimented, militaristic, person, and that's not really you, it's not gonna work. You have to be yourself. I always say it's kind of like sometimes you have to turn the volume up on yourself or down.
Sure.
But that's about all you can do. You really can't be you can't be somebody you're not.
You could. It's like any other line of work or any other relationship you develop. I would imagine you can only fake it for so long before
it's exposed.
You're going to be seen pretty quickly for who you are.
Right.
You know,
and that's gonna hurt you anyways. That's not just gonna affect relationships outside of that. That's going to affect you in a negative way because it's just stressful.
Yeah.
You can only keep it up so long.
Yeah, and you have no credibility if you're faking it. You really need to kind of you have to be yourself.
And I think it's a great lesson too in anything you do. Obviously, we're talking to a guy right now who his life's work has been in corrections, and he's climbed the ranks in corrections. But I think it rings true for every guest we've talked to. Everything that we discuss here, it's about being present, being authentic, so that you can maximize your best efforts, but also so that you remain credible and earn the respect of the people that you work with or share your home with, and any relationship you have. So it's interesting, no matter the line of work. Like we talked to Dan, who is in not the same position, but in a position where every decision you make has very real implications.
Yep. For a lot of other people.
Right. Yeah. And not just because he's an officer, but because of what he's tasked to do. Yep. So I think about you and your line of work, and obviously you're not doing it alone, but you are in an environment where mistakes can become very, very costly. Very costly. And, given the line of work that Donnie's in and Jason, very, very similar, where you see really the unfortunate side of people sometimes and of life sometimes. My hat's off to you, and I say this to you guys all the time. But I think you have to, we talk so much about positivity here, but I think if you don't have that mindset, without you getting into too much detail about what you've seen in colleagues and also the population, but I think that's where poor decisions can be made around the stuff you may do, not just inside of work, but outside of work as well.
I think in this line of work or what Donnie does, I think over the years you see people that they deal with things a little bit differently. It goes from, maybe going out after work and having a couple beers to kind of a downward spiral. Yeah. And I've seen that time and time again.
Sure.
So I think you kind of really have to have that focus on how you're going to deal with the bad days, who you're going to surround yourself with, it's kind of like you have a team, a team that you kind of work with every day.
That team mentality,
right?
Yeah.
And some people are going to be part of the team, and some people they do everything so they can't be part of the team.
Sure.
So how do you keep that? What happens at work stays at work. How do you separate that? Because obviously you spend your day in a place that's, again, filled with a lot of negative vibes. You're dealing with problematic people. How do you leave that at work and not let it affect your home life?
I think you have to go home.
Yeah.
You go home. I always like to have, say, 20, 25 minutes to kind of relax, play with the dogs, and then it's at home.
I think what I think is interesting about that answer, and I don't want to skip over it, and then I definitely want you to expand upon it, but it's not what I was expecting right away. But correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think your point is, instead of recreating like a lot of other people do and saying, well, my last 8 hours were pretty tough, I'm going to go out with the boys for a few hours. The simple solution is I'm going home.
Correct.
That's where it's going to start. Yeah.
That's good. And, it's relax someplace you're comfortable. Like you said, spend time with the dogs.
Yeah,
hang
get out, get home, and you really, sometimes my role now, again, in the division where I work now with the transportation, I'm literally on call kind of 24/7. So it's, the cell phone's always going off. Sometimes I have to respond to different incidents, but I have to say, when you're home, you're home. You have to, you don't want to talk about work other than, hey, how was work? Hey, it was good. All right, let's go. Obviously, I think a big thing with me is I like to get out of work and
train.
Yeah, go lift or go do something active. Go for a hike.
Yeah.
And those are the days where you're tired. We were just talking with Donnie a couple minutes ago about working overtime and working doubles, and you just have to keep that mindset going where no matter how you're feeling, you're going to say, I'm going to get my clothes, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to get a good training session in.
Sure.
And then I always feel better after that.
Absolutely.
Good stress reliever, and that's something that you love to do. You've done it for a long time. Yep. So that's kind of your your go-to activity, I guess.
Yeah. As if you speak on the fitness side of things, obviously it's an environment where being fit helps, not just because of what you may have to respond to, but I think one of the things with Mike and a lot of the guys that I've noticed, and girls and ladies that I've noticed in CERT, it's an appearance thing as well. It's that guy or girl that walks into the room with 5 other people that may have the same job.
You have to have that presence.
Yeah, their uniform looks different.
Yep.
The attention to detail in their boots, no different than when you go to work and you don't have to put on a fire suit to go fight a fire. I think the first impression you make says a lot about who you are. You walk into a room, I don't have to know you to sort of start forming opinions about who I think you are. You know what I'm saying? So I think that probably plays a role as well in your work, and not just with the people that are in your charge, but also the population as well.
But how you present yourself, first, you can't change the first impression.
That's right.
If you show up to work and your uniform looks like, it's baggy, it's got string hanging off it, your boots look like crap, it's not a good first impression.
Yeah, it says everything about who you are until somebody has a chance to meet you.
Exactly.
So it makes perfect sense. Have you always been into training as much as you are now?
I think as I'm getting older, I'll turn 44 this year.
You look good,
yeah.
Mike. You look good.
You didn't tell me that 10 minutes ago.
I know. Mike and I we've for years had this running joke about whether or not each other still goes to the gym because it pisses us both off. But I did tell him when he came to the house today, I'm like, man, I wanted to make fun of you and tell you that you look like you're shrinking. Are you still training? Have you been sick? It's flu season. I know a lot of people have been losing weight because the flu has been. But I couldn't do it. I wanted to do it, but I couldn't do it. So I'm keeping up the good work.
Thanks. I think
you're welcome.
Now it's getting to the point where you try to find something different, try to kind of stimulate your mind
Sure.
as well as what kind of training you're going to do, because if you've been working out, doing any kind of the same workout for say 15, 20 years, your body's just getting used to it. So now it's just kind of, I'm on YouTube, or your brother sends me a lot of different workouts.
He's the best, man.
So you're at the gym looking at your phone, trying to read the text message on what the workout is, and it's kind of about just challenging yourself like that.
His stuff is brutal too. And I think that's why you probably, we've talked before, that's probably why you have always been so into it and are now really getting back into it again. Jay's a big CrossFit guy. But I know. We have our opinions on CrossFit, but listen, it's okay. We've discussed these.
It's all right.
But I will tell you, in talking to him about
CrossFit.
Yeah, but I will tell you, in talking to him about like his numbers and stuff, ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. But I think that's the point. Everybody has stuff that they really, really enjoy. You know what I mean? So I think even for me too, you have to have something outside of work and home and I think where people screw up, we talked about this when we talked about resolutions, and you talked about consistency and, towing the line, is that where people I think screw up is that it's an add-on, like if I can get it in.
Right.
Instead of it's a non-negotiable. Like
it's going to happen.
It's a non-negotiable. I will put other things off to get that in. That's how important it is.
Right. Yep. I think it's where you have to look at it, Sarah. I'm going to get 7 hours of sleep, or I'm going to get 4.5, 5 hours of sleep, but I'm still going to train.
Right. Yeah, I'm still going to
keep your sanity. That's part of the schedule.
It's a routine.
Yep.
I think obviously it's just as important for your mind and your brain as it is for your body. I think just to get the stress out, feel regular, get your your mojo going for the day.
Sure.
Either to begin it or to end it. I think it can't always be where you can go in the morning. Sometimes you're going after work when you're tired. But
you go when your girl tells you to go. Let's be honest.
Shout out to Artsy Fit.
Yeah, you go exactly when your girl tells you to go. True or false?
We like to train together.
Ah, well played. Well played.
a good answer.
He's got a good one, and she's a fitness buff as well. But Mike has always been a very Mike's going to go get his in when he wants to get it in. And I've just noticed, I could be wrong, but over the last couple of years, I just noticed that there's been a change in that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Like,
Now you got me blushing.
yeah, I don't know. So
She'll enjoy that.
So well done, Aggie. Well done. You got the man dialed in. What's next for you, Mike, in DOC? Like, where do you go from where you're at right now?
I'm gonna stay right where I am right now. Again, I'm gonna hit 19 years in a couple weeks, and I enjoy going to work every day.
Still
Enjoy it. I love going to work. I have a good time. I like interacting with people.
a lot of good people, man.
I like when challenges kind of arise. Obviously, I get to see your brother on a pretty regular basis.
So sorry.
So again, I like going to work. I
Yeah.
enjoy it. I can't see going anywhere else.
Now,
You know?
correct me if I'm wrong, but in Connecticut, you can get out at 20 years.
20
correct?
years, correct.
What are your thoughts on that?
Stay till I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay till I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah.
Is what you're doing now the most satisfying thing that you've done in your career? Or is there something that if you could choose to do it a little bit differently, you would have gone a different direction now seeing everything that you've seen?
Yeah, I'm probably happiest
This is it,
career-wise where I am right now. I have a lot of flexibility. I oversee a lot. And again, I have kind of it's very fluid right now.
Yeah.
So it's a good spot to be in.
And you're not in a facility directly, right?
No, I work out of a base where we kind of oversee all the transportation. So again, weird things pop up. You know, we have vehicles breaking down,
Sure.
and we need to respond, and it's a good spot to be in.
No, go ahead.
No, please, go ahead.
So before we came on, we also mentioned that is it Aggie? She is in the same line of work as you.
Yeah,
So how's that work out for you?
How does that work out for you?
work stays at work,
Yeah.
and when we're home, we're home.
And don't you think he's done an awesome job on all of the other questions, really expanding
Right.
upon his answers?
Yeah, until now.
And I just feel like we've gotten to sort of the point in the conversation where you're not willing to expand, and I'm just wondering why that is. Just curious.
Crickets.
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 Yeah, crickets.
So I guess we'll move on. We'd hate to have a guest feel uncomfortable
Right.
on our show. Is there a moment for you, Mike, that or an event for you that stands out in your career as like a defining moment for you personally, or one that never, even in the line of work that you're in, you would have never imagined having to navigate through with the help of obviously other, men and women? But is there one that jumps out at you as being like either a highlight or something that just made you go, I can't believe this is sort of what I do for a living?
Kind of the things like that. I don't really dwell on the bad.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
again a medical something, an inmate doing something crazy.
Sure.
That's kind of the past. And again, you were part of this in April when myself and your brother, who was our lead instructor on CERT,
Yeah.
when we put that CERT class through, I think it was the largest one ever. It was 50 people.
It was unreal.
And just that 2 weeks, and actually 3 weeks of my fellow instructors kind of putting it together, getting it through, and when it was over, that was a moment where I was actually like, wow, that was.
I remember you
That
guys
was good.
feeling awesome about that.
Yeah.
Tell us, the people listening, a little bit about that training and what separates the people that are selected from the people that aren't. And the reason I ask is for those of you that are listening, one of the things that Jason and I and Donnie try to embed in all the conversations we have is to find some sort of correlation between how you live your life, what you do every day, and things that you might want to think about doing a little bit differently to keep climbing whatever ladder it is you want to climb in your life. So for us, when we have these discussions with a guy like Mike or a guest we've had in the past or a guest we'll have in the future, I think it serves our guests best. And I know for me personally, I can't take Mike's experience and understand the experience from his perspective as a law enforcement guy, but I can take the traits that I'm looking forward to hearing him share and say, okay, in my line of work with kids, in the speaking that I do, in the things that I'm passionate about, how can I take some of those things and employ them into what I do every day? Because ultimately that's going to help me continue to get better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just don't want that to be lost on the people that listen. So when we talk to our guests about this stuff, it's about, all right, guys, so you're listening to a guy who's essentially climbed the ladder at almost the highest level in his profession, and that's not what matters to me. What matters to me is how you've done it and what has separated you and what separates those people that get selected for CERT. Walk us through that process from the thousands of others that work in the DOC that either tried and didn't make it or had no interest in trying.
Right. We do a tryout. Kind of equated to like a sports tryout.
Okay.
Like a football tryout.
Yeah.
But there's an application process. We go through those, and then you get selected to go for the tryouts. And it's basically just how hard can you go? It's 2 day. It's 2 days. If you get selected, you go to like a 2 week. It's a 2 week basic.
So just to stop you for 1 second, in terms of the numbers of people that try out, you graduated about 50 people, right? How many people tried out?
I think over 300. I could be right around 300.
So just to give you an idea of, in your own challenges in life, there's something that makes those 50 people different than the 250 others that were with them.
Right. And I'm sure it's not all physical. It's got a lot of it's got to do with personalities.
A lot of it's just mental and, people just not wanting to finish the day.
Right.
Again, I kind of when you talked about being in school, I remember when we were at the tryouts, you see these kids that are young in their career, 22, 23-year-old kids.
Sure.
And you can see or you can kind of envision who's going to be somewhere 10 years from now. You can see it in their eyes. You can see how hard they're trying. You can see the dedication. You can see that they don't want to be there, but they're staying.
Sure.
How tough it is. So it's about developing that next, the next people that are going to run what we're doing now.
And it's important to you. It
Absolutely.
matters.
Absolutely. It's basically succession planning. It's setting our team up so it can continue 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now.
And the legacy that you've worked to create, you want it to last long after you're gone.
Correct. We talked on the way over here. Your brother and I, we did our CERT basic together. So
like 18 years ago.
18 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny to look. I looked at this last class when I looked at, and I thought of us. I had a couple pictures from 18 years ago, and I look now. I'm like, it's insane.
It's crazy.
So what are some of the traits that you look for in people when you have somebody who you're looking to fill a role on your team? Who are the people that you want to work with?
Great question.
I honestly, somebody that no matter what you ask them to do, they have a good attitude about it. Because sometimes it's not pleasant what you ask somebody to do. That's in a facility also. You could be asking them to do something that's not. It's unpleasant, and they're going to do it.
Yep.
But you want somebody that's motivated. Obviously, there's times you can't be questioned. If you ask somebody to do it, you need them to do it to fulfill the mission. So I want somebody that's just a hard charger. I want somebody that kind of reminds me of myself and kind of my group of friends 15, 16 years ago that just wanted to move up, wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of whether they fail at what they try to accomplish.
That's what I was just going to ask as well.
Or succeed at it. So as long as they're putting the effort in, they're trying to find a solution.
Yeah. And getting into the physical aspect, people are going to fail physically. Your body's going to stop. It's the mindset of when they fail, what happens then.
Do you keep pushing yourself
that point in and of itself is so great. Like when you fail, you guys are very intentionally watching how they respond to failure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Say we're doing an exercise or a push-ups, something to where we just keep going, and instead of just laying there, they get up and they start doing squats or doing something else. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
But I think that's anything, and in any part of life. If you're at the gym, what are you going to do when you're tired? You're going to try to keep going.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Or when, to your point, if you're at work and your boss asks you to do, the chief or one of your officers asks you to do something unpleasant, and it sucks. How are you going to do it? Are you going to do it while bitching and moaning the whole time and saying this should be for a junior guy, or are you just going to get it done because you have trust in the person that asked you to do it? And I would imagine you're not asking somebody to do it just because. You're asking them to do it because you need to get it done.
Yeah. And most times I think it's nothing that you haven't done yourself.
That's right.
So
that's good leadership. I mean, that's leadership 101. And I think that's probably why you guys, like you and my brother and so many of the other guys and gals that I had the pleasure of meeting, they all come from that same cloth. Like you look at them and they're fit. It matters. They can do what they're asking everybody else to do. And I think that's a great leadership lesson, not just in Mike's job or Jason's job or in your life. You can't ask people to do things that you haven't at least tried.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can't.
You can, but it won't get you very far.
Yeah, I think that's a better, I appreciate that. It's a better way to put it. you certainly can, and people do it all the time. And I think that's why a lot of leaders fail.
And that's the difference between a boss and a leader.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I think, and also I think you gain a lot more respect from your people when you present the way that you present, and they look at you and go, I know this dude has done it for the last 18 years.
Right. It's funny, kind of, as you're saying, it's throughout this last training we did, you can PT or you can exercise or you can run, but when you get older, the next day, it's really hard to get up.
Brutal, right?
And these 23, 24-year-old kids
they're ready to
show
rock.
up and they're ready to go again. And you have to, it's
Dig
literally
in.
like a switch or a lot of pre-workout.
Yeah,
and
or both.
And you have to go again.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they're watching to see, well, what's the old guy going to do
That's
today?
right.
So that's the mental aspect even now, where you're like, I have to do this. My feet hurt, my legs hurt, everything hurts, but you still have to do it.
Yeah. I think it's a great point.
It's probably harder on some of you guys,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
older guys, than
Absolutely.
Well, because you're planning before they show up.
Right.
You're planning after they show up.
It's a longer day.
It's a way longer day.
The day that started, say at 8 o'clock, your brother Steve's been texting me or calling me since 4:30 a.m.
That's right.
So that's how the day goes.
Yeah. Yeah, because it matters to you guys. I guess for me, sort of before we wrap, one of the things I think that would be a pretty good way to end is if you, and I'm definitely putting you on the spot right now, but if you could identify 3 characteristics of the most successful and positive people you've worked with, yourself included, if you were to pick out, 1 to 3, sort of buzzwords that you would look for in people you hire, but also those things that you think have helped you navigate a really successful career, and more importantly, life, right? Life is not about work.
That's a great question.
You know what I'm saying? What would they be?
Yeah, strong work ethic, huge. I don't think you can teach it. Some people work, they want to work, and they always work. Motivated, and then probably my biggest one is just loyalty. If you can't, there's nothing better than loyalty.
That's right.
I think I've said it numerous times, but you have a group of guys that you can call, and ladies that you can call, anytime, and they're going to be there.
They're truly your brothers and sisters.
Right, correct.
And also that loyalty is formed because you guys have been through some real shit together, and you've been tested together.
Correct.
And so it very quickly, same as your job. Like
you've been through the mundane, and you've done the
and then the alarm goes off, and the house is
yep.
burning down, and you find out pretty quickly who's going to stand right next to you, and the ones that, it's cool to have the job because I get to wear the uniform and the badge, but when the rubber meets the road and it really hits the fan, are these folks going to be as tough as they sounded in the office?
Right.
Are they
exactly.
Are they
before and after?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
Sometimes it can be a while before you go through those situations too. I mean, you could work with someone for, probably not in your in your job, but you could go through a stretch of time before somebody's really got their boots to the fire.
It could be years, and then the test happens, and you see who's the real deal and who's not.
That's right. But it's like they say all the time, that quote, you work a lifetime or a career or years to build a reputation, and it can be destroyed in 1 second.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Poor decision.
Yeah. So loyalty, work ethic, and
Just motivation.
And motivation. Yeah.
Again, it's not that hard, even when you're having a bad day, just to try to act like you're having a good day.
But don't you think, I don't know what your feeling on this is, because you and I just know you well. We're pretty like-minded in the way we try to live our lives and treat people. Do you think, though, that intrinsic motivation, and it's probably a topic for a whole nother show, and I'd love to discuss it because I know you're into this stuff too, that real intrinsic motivation, like there's no cash reward, there's no material reward. Do you think that intrinsic stuff can be taught, or do you think it's more innate?
I don't know. I don't think you can teach that.
See, I don't really think you can either.
There are people who have a goal. You set a goal and you work towards it. When you get there, that's the reward for you. But I know myself and a lot of us in this room, the fun part is the chase.
Exactly.
The hunt is what it's really all about. And if you get there, it's kind of over. It's like, all right, what am I going to do next?
What's next?
You need another challenge.
And along the way,
the best part.
What people don't understand, we talk about this all the time. Along the way, you fail a ton of times.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get, even as a captain, as a Cert commander, you're going to make mistakes.
Yep.
You're going to fail. Like, it's part of the journey. But we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. There was some stat about, I think it was the New Year's resolution one we were talking about. Yep. And what did you share with us, Bud? Something like 80% of the people or 90% of the people.
Follow through. Yeah.
But they failed before the end of January. So if motivation worked based on external factors, i.e. money. I lose 10 pounds. I get 10 pounds heavier on a lift. I get my husband or wife's going to buy me nicer clothes. If that really worked consistently, then 90% of the people around the world wouldn't quit their New Year's resolutions in less than 30 days.
It's funny. I noticed that yesterday. I went to the gym last night.
A lot less crowded, right?
What a difference from a week before. I mean, a week before there was cameras in there. They were videoing it.
Of course.
Now it's already back to back to.
And you're pissed off those first 3 weeks because you can't get all the space and machines that you're used to using.
It's a nightmare.
It's awful because you know that those people are going to be gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Just quit now. Just get out of my way.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't going to last. Yep.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on your end, brother, or you?
No, I think we touched on all the bases. I appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
It's an awesome perspective to hear it from.
Yeah.
I love hearing from people who have an interest in, you know, the specialized kind of things. The paramilitary stuff is always interesting because it brings out a certain kind of character. Not everybody could do the stuff that you're doing or that like Don does.
It really does, and that's what I love about the guests we have, and that's why I wanted to have Mike on. And as we progress through our guests, people that just come from all different walks of life, but the themes that we hear week in and week out for people that I at least consider successful and have a positive outlook on this crazy thing called life, the themes are the same every single week. And so for me, it's just reinforcement that, you know, what we're trying to share with people isn't specific to, well, I'm a doctor, so how does this message resonate with me specifically? I'm a teacher, so how does this resonate? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's what I love about it.
There's a handful of things that driven, successful people all have in common, and that's what we've been seeing.
And three of them that were highlighted today: work ethic, loyalty, and motivation.
Yep.
I don't care where you look. If you have those three things, you're going to be pretty successful in this journey because hard work works. And you know what I mean? Hard work works. Everybody appreciates somebody that's going to go through the fire with them. And everybody appreciates people that get fired up to be part of the process, that are motivated for the process, even if the day might suck. So I'm super grateful.
I'm glad I was here. Thanks for having me.
So happy to have you. You were way nicer to me than I thought you were going to be.
We still have a ride home.
Yeah, we do. And thank God it's a short ride.
Thank God you shaved today.
Well, I missed it. I knew you couldn't resist getting at least one in.
Had to get one.
Please thank Aggie for allowing you
Thanks, Agnes.
the 40 minutes or an hour. I'm glad she gave you permission to do this with us. That was very, very nice of her. As
nice
always,
job avoiding any problems with the with the
you
questioning.
handled it like a pro, man.
It's very good.
As always, folks, thanks so much. We're grateful for you. Be good to those you love. Let them know you love them. Have a great day.
Take care, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to the Hashtag Positivity Podcast. Online at hashtagpositivity.org, on Facebook at Hashtag Positivity, and Instagram, the official Hashtag Positivity. If you liked the episode, please rate and review. And remember, positivity is contagious. Sprinkle that madness everywhere.